cities that were hit or targeted by nuclear weapons. He didn't hear Cleveland, so he felt safe. The people outside weren't so confident. Cars crashed outside, and 10 minutes before everything powered down, somehow people were pounding on the door. How did they know about it? Were they workers in the building? Optimistic for the best, but preparing for the worst, Harris placed the locks on manual before he had no choice. There were 6 people in the hall, all of them shouting, pounding. "You're killing us! Let us in! Open the damn door!" Harris shook his head. He wasn't killing them. If the bombs came, they were the ones that were killing them. Even then, they were 3 stories below ground. Anything other than a direct hit, they were fine. Steel door keeping them in a room or not. Harris wasn't letting them in. He didn't know them, and he only had rations for 10 people for 3 days. Alone, he could make that last a long time. But alone, he'd go insane. Even though insanity wasn't very likely, Harris was consumed with guilt. He was a God-fearing Christian man, and it wasn't very Christian to let those people wait outside in a hall without any provisions. When he last checked, 4 of the 6 remained. He didn't know where they went or why they'd even leave to go topside to the mayhem and danger. When Harris opened the door, there were only 2 people left, a man and a woman. He didn't say anything to them, he just allowed them into the room, then closed and locked the door. White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. When Madeline Tanner was a little girl, she had a vintage Barbie doll airplane. It was given to her by an aunt who got it from somewhere else. It wasn't plastic or sturdy, more like vinyl and flexible. When closed, it looked neat and just like a case. When opened, it was supposed to be the interior of a plane. It had a flight attendant kitchen and a seating area. The problem was, it wasn't functioning like the later airplanes. The kitchen cabinet doors were just piece soft vinyl that opened, exposing a picture. It was the idea of a plane that made it fun for her, not that she could even lift it up and pretend to fly. It was a relic of its time. Much like the Greenbrier Mountain Bunker. On the outside, it was interesting and pretty, but on the inside, what was there wasn't altogether real or functioning. Perhaps at one time the bunker was state-of-the-art. It was partly nestled under a 5-star resort and went deep under the mountain, originally designed to be the hub for Congress in the event of an attack on the United States, up to 1,000 people. However, as the years progressed and the Cold War ended, the usefulness of the bunker was lessened, and what was once a premier place of survival was transformed into a mockery of time gone by, and the bunker was made into a museum. In fact, the entire first floor was redesigned to be a casino. The other areas were roped off and made into displays. The yearly rotating of food supplies ceased. The bunker wasn't feasible. The soldiers had then restored it to its original purpose, and the work had started long before the attacks on American soil. It was a safe place, now serving as the nation's capital, the White House, and the Pentagon. Just as Greenbrier had transformed, so did Madeline. She had gone from Speaker of the House to President in less than 2 days. Everything that had occurred in the previous 24 hours was a blur. She saw many faces, heard many names, none of which she recalled very clearly. She wasn't in the mindset to be the leader and make decisions. Not yet. She was still trying to understand what all had happened and sort out the abundance of grief she was dealing with. Grief for her friends, her family, and her country. Her aide, Lillian, went from being helpful to being useless. Madeline understood. The shock wore off, and Lillian kept repeating, "I just want to go home." They had adjoining rooms, however the door just didn't seem thick enough to block out the sobs that carried to her from Lillian. So she threw on some clothing and made her way to the main floor of the bunker. It was quiet. Many of the soldiers were still rearranging things, carrying boxes in and out. She slipped by them unnoticed and walked over to the far wall where, for entertainment purposes, they placed slot machines.